Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a seriously fascinating paper that completely, radically shifts how we view the bodily resurrection. It argues that resurrection isn't just about personal salvation, but rather the ultimate, cosmic destiny of physical matter itself. We are unpacking a dense, totally brilliant framework that pulls together medieval philosophy, cutting-edge science, and historical theology to argue that the physical universe isn't just some temporary staging ground. No, it has a permanent, glorious purpose. Because this source material weaves together a pretty complex framework spanning from medieval metaphysics all the way to modern neuroscience, here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, the destiny of matter. Second, the metaphysical bridge. Third, a sacramental cosmos. Fourth, inaugurating cosmic restoration. Fifth, confronting modern science. And finally, mind, body, and eternity. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the destiny of matter, where we're rethinking the ultimate goal of the physical universe. So, what is the ultimate destiny of matter? We've got to start by challenging a deeply ingrained preconceived notion about the afterlife. For centuries, a lot of Western thought has been quietly influenced by this underlying dualism. The idea that the spirit is good and the physical body, or matter, is just heavy, restrictive, and ultimately disposable. So we really have to ask ourselves, is the physical universe merely a temporary staging ground meant to be tossed aside? Or does it have a far grander, permanent purpose? When you look up at the stars, the trees, or literally even your own hands, are you looking at a temporary shell or something meant to last forever? Well, the paper we're looking at today argues fiercely for the latter. And this represents an absolutely massive paradigm shift. Traditionally, many folks have reduced the concept of resurrection to a mere postscript of personal survival, basically an escape from the physical body into some sort of ethereal, floaty afterlife. But the source text flips this entirely on its head. It frames the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ as the definitive revelatory event. It unveils that matter is intrinsically linked to the divine source of being. So it's not about abandoning the earth at all. It's about the total, glorious transformation of creation itself. Moving on to Section 2, the metaphysical bridge, and how God and creation actually connect. To build this theological architecture, the paper turns to the brilliant 13th century Franciscan philosopher John Duns Scotus. He provides the essential logical scaffolding to explain how the infinite and the finite can even interact in the first place without destroying one another. He introduces this concept of the univocity of being. See, before Scotus, the dominant tradition basically said we can only understand God's being as an analogy to our own. But Scotus, he said, no way. If it's just an analogy, language completely breaks down into vagueness. He argued the concept of being is exactly the same for a rock, an angel, and God. The difference is merely the infinite degree to which God possesses it. That is a huge deal. It means matter itself participates directly in reality. It elevates matter from a passive substrate into an active participant that possesses intrinsic dignity. And that brings us to the crucial concept of hechisados, or thisness. This guarantees that a resurrected person is numerically the exact same individual who lived and died, carrying forward their unique embodied history. Think about it for a second. Your cells replace themselves constantly, right? So what makes you, well, you over time? For Scotus, it's not just a general human essence, it's your distinct thisness. This is what allows for a credible doctrine of bodily resurrection. It ensures that resurrection isn't just God creating a shiny new clone of you, but the genuine restoration of your exact, unique, historical self. Which brings us to Section 3, a sacramental cosmos, finding meaning in the physical world. If Scotus gives us the logical skeleton, the Franciscan tradition, particularly through the lens of St. Bonaventure, gives us the vibrant, beating heart of this entire framework. Unlike philosophies that view the spirit as good and matter as bad, this sacramental worldview celebrates the physical universe as a web of divine symbols. I absolutely love this concept of manuductio, the idea of the physical world literally taking you by the hand to lead you back to God. Every physical thing is a trace of the divine. Modern Franciscan theologian Ilia Delio actually pushes this even further with the concept of Christogenesis. This suggests the universe is in a progressive cosmic evolution driven by the incarnation, pulling all of physical matter toward a final, beautiful union with God. The cosmos isn't just going to be repaired, it's destined to be transformed into surpassing splendor.
All right, Section 4, inaugurating cosmic restoration, looking at the historical timeline of redemption. To ground this massive cosmic vision in actual history, the paper adopts an eschatological framework known as partial preterism. Now, if you aren't familiar with eschatology, the theology of the end times, preterism generally holds that many biblical prophecies were actually already fulfilled in the past. By viewing the cataclysmic events of the first century, like the destruction of the temple in AD 70, as fulfilling the tribulation prophecies, it completely frees us up to look at the present era differently. We aren't sitting around in a waiting room for the apocalypse. We're actively in a time of progressive cosmic restoration. Christ's resurrection acts as the first fruits that inaugurated a trajectory away from decay. The empty tomb wasn't just some isolated anomaly. It was the literal starting gun for the renewal of the material universe. Next up, Section 5, Confronting Modern Science. Here we tackle entropy, quantum mechanics, and theology. So how does this beautiful theological worldview actually hold up when it's stress-tested against the heavy existential threats of modern physics? I mean, it's one thing to have great medieval philosophy. It's another thing entirely to stare down the second law of thermodynamics and quantum indeterminacy and still maintain that the universe is destined for eternal glory. Utilizing the presuppositional apologetics of Gordon H. Clark, which argues that all reasoning basically has to begin with scripture to make sense of anything, the paper reframes these scientific hurdles entirely. Regarding entropy, physicist John Polkinghorne points out that the universe might actually be an open system, receiving energy from its creator. So entropy could just be the physical price of time, a law of becoming, allowing complexity to emerge. And as for quantum indeterminacy, its mysterious random entanglements don't prove fundamental chaos. They actually point to a deeply relational, interconnected fabric ordered by God's will, exactly like Bonaventure described centuries ago. And finally, Section 6, Mind, Body, and Eternity. Answering eliminative materialism. We have to confront a major metaphysical opponent here, something called eliminative materialism. This is the extreme edge of secular philosophy, championed by thinkers who argue that your soul, your mind, and even your basic intentions are just obsolete illusions waiting to be replaced by neuroscience. Now, if they are right, a bodily resurrection is a completely meaningless concept, but this paper offers a really snappy, logical takedown of that idea. Think about it. If you state the claim that beliefs don't exist, there is a massive catch. You have to believe that statement is true, and you must have the intention to communicate it to me. It's a textbook performative contradiction. You literally cannot formulate the argument without using the very mind you are trying to deny. Eliminative materialism eliminates itself. And when it collapses, it leaves the door wide open for the truth. You are not just a brain in a jar. You're an intentionally designed, embodied person, and your physical matter is infinitely valuable. So is matter truly a partner in a divine drama destined for a radiant and eternal glorification? As we wrap up this explainer, we are left to really marvel at the coherence of this argument, pondering a universe where matter is not the enemy of the soul, but its destined eternal partner. The sources we've explored today offer just a staggering vision, from the rigorous logic of Duns Scotus giving matter its intrinsic dignity, to the joyful vision of Bonaventure, right through to the defenses against modern entropy and neuroscience. It completely flips the script. The physical world isn't a sinking ship we're desperately waiting to be rescued from. According to this framework, it is the very canvas of eternal glory. So the next time you look around at this beautifully complex material world, I want you to ask yourself, what if all of this isn't winding down, but is actually just getting started?